move on to the expert on those issues, which is Mr. Bashir Ahmad, who's an expert on Taliban, TTP, ISKP, terrorism in the region, and he will take this further from here. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, and thank you for hosting this conference. For those who don't know me, I'm a journalist from Radio Free Europe, Radio Mashal. We broadcast in Pashto for travel areas in Pakistan and those parts on Gibran line between Afghanistan and Pakistan. We have been covering Afghanistan and Pakistan for quite some time. And since the launch of Radio Mashal in 2010, we have been working on different reports and different stories regarding extremism and militant groups that are operating there. I'm here on my own. Just to clarify that, what I'm saying is it's not the viewpoint of my organization. It's my viewpoint, and as a journalist, I will try to be as factual as possible. I'm going to talk about what the future is going to bring to this region, because the Taliban takeover has encouraged other militant groups and they have encouraged extremists to go further and radicalize the youth as much as possible. The future of militant groups and how could the Taliban takeover of Afghanistan affect the wide region is also a very good discussion point to have at this point of time, because we have seen evidence that the Taliban are using the Islamic State of Khorasan as a blackmailing chip when they are talking to the international community. And they say, for example, if they are not there, the Islamic State will go on and they have a wider agenda and they will try to attack Europe and other countries like they have done before. So you should talk to us and you should give us money and you should recognize us, the Taliban are saying, that we are the ones who can control them. And I think the ambassadors are here, the politicians are here. I don't know how much they are buying it, but it seems like they are buying it. So there has to be a way that how can they navigate this situation, because on one hand they have to talk to the Taliban, on the other hand, as Madam Sadiq was saying, they shouldn't be encouraging them so they could continue to use these blackmailing chips. I was trying to write the names of the militant groups that are currently active in Afghanistan and Pakistan, and there are so many you cannot put on a piece of paper. But the big names are TTP, the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, the ISIS and Al-Qaeda and Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed. And all these are coming under the umbrella of the Taliban now, because Taliban is like the big brother of them now. When they got to have the government and a state and a country of their own, the Taliban, these other militaries are thinking the same. They can also have this, at least a part of, for example, Pakistan and Central Asia, to call them home and to have it as their own. The Islamic movement of Uzbekistan is a big deal there now. I was talking last week to a very informed person, and he told me that there are at least 1,700 Islamic Uzbekistan movement members, and they are well trained, they are well equipped, and because of their connections with the Taliban government and the Taliban officials, they have given them weapons and like all these modern weapons and vehicles and money. And they have also, under the pressure of some European and some American organizations and the governments, they have renamed themselves, rebranded themselves as Ansarullah. And so many militants are going into different groups, and the TTP is also providing them with trainings and everything. And just to give you a news, last 3 weeks ago, the TTP leader, Nur Wali Masood, he got a bulletproof car from Haqqanis, the Sirajuddin Haqqanis. And as Madam Musaddiq was talking, you can see where the money is going to. So the money that the international community is providing the Taliban, they are doing other businesses with it. That's why the role of Pakistan is very important, because the Pakistani generals themselves have confessed and even praised the Taliban by themselves. For example, you may Google it, you may see it on YouTube. General Pervez Musharraf, retired general and army chief, he has an interview, a very interesting interview, and he says Haqqanis are their heroes. And currently the Pakistan is trying to talk to the TTP, the Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, and they have been talking since May, and there has been some progress. They have struck a deal to have a ceasefire, an indefinite ceasefire. They have also released 127 TTP inmates, and interestingly, I spoke to some TTP people, and they say we have given the Pakistani government a list of 42 people, but they released 127. So it's very interesting. It's a huge generosity shown by the Pakistani government, and it's no secret that it has, we have seen a lot of writings about this good Taliban and bad Taliban that the Pakistanis are saying that, just to kind of introduce them, good Taliban are those who are fighting, who have been fighting against the NATO forces in Afghanistan. They were the good Taliban to them, and the bad Taliban were those who were attacking the Pakistani military and other interests of Pakistan. The new situation is becoming more interesting at this point, because we have China in the region. They have this CPEC, it's a Chinese-Pakistan economic corridor, and they have done a huge investment. And I would suggest if EFSAS and other groups can do another session on this, it's a huge issue. It's a very interesting issue, that how these Chinese will try to secure and manage their investment. Because 2 days ago in Balochistan, a Pakistani colonel, an army officer, was kidnapped. This is quite unique, because Baloch militants are becoming more and more powerful these days. You have seen they are using different techniques. The Baloch Liberation Army, they had a suicide bomber in Karachi, and she was the first woman suicide bomber among the Balochs. So it becomes more severe and severe. And if you see that woman's background, I was talking to Junaid the other day, I was doing a story on her, that why she did this suicide bombing. Nobody could say anything, because she was highly educated. She was a PhD student. She was well off. She wasn't from a poor background, that they were pale or something. But her videos and everything shows that she wanted to harm the Pakistani military. So the region is boiling with all these militant groups, and I think that's why the Europeans and other international community members are trying to reach out to the Taliban, because they're scared of the Taliban using all these militants against them. So it's a tricky situation for them. As a journalist, I would like to ask some questions that how would they deal with this? Because on one hand, if they want to have some agreements with the Taliban, if they want to recognize the Taliban, which seems like it's going to happen, and like the last week Qatar is saying that they're going to sign a deal, a security pact with the Taliban, which is very interesting, that they don't recognize them, but they want to have a pact with them. And they say we are Islamic Muslim countries, we can have something like that. And the Taliban are saying that Mullah Umar's son and the current defense minister of the Taliban government, he is saying that we asked Qatar government to pay the salaries of the Afghan army under the Taliban. So it's very interesting that who is giving green signals to the Qatar that they could go ahead and do these agreements with. And on the other hand, if the world is going to recognize them, there are so many things that should be discussed. For example, the militant group, there is no disconnect between Al-Qaeda and the Taliban currently that they have been saying. We have seen evidence in Kunar province and Nangarhar provinces, and there is on local levels in different provinces, ISIS and the Taliban commanders are cooperating with each other. Maybe their policies on bigger level, on state level is different, but on lower level they are the same. So there is huge differences between the Taliban as well. There are Haqqanis, there are these Helmandis Taliban, and there is this Kandaharis. So if there is going to a situation that's their power grabbing situation, so these militaries will go into other groups, and it will be a huge problem for the region. The Chinese investment is going to be harmed, and other interest of the region will also see a punch. The Central Asia point is also very important, because these militaries are going into Central Asia and they're going to have attacks there, and that's why Russia is cozying up with the Taliban. The Chinese are also cozying up with the Taliban because of their investment. So everybody is trying to get a slice of the Taliban, and it's a competition to who can become best friends with the Taliban first. And it's very interesting because nobody is talking about the core issues. For example, the women education is important, and the Taliban are going to, mark my words, they are going to open the schools very, I think probably in a month or even before a month. But after that, what will happen is that they are working currently on a curriculum that is very bad for Afghan youth. And they are going to raise an army of extremists through that curriculum. So when the Europeans are talking to them about the education, it's not just opening schools. They have to talk to them about the curriculum and what will happen after that. And so it has to be a whole package. The militant groups, how they can disconnect themselves from them, the women issues, and also the Pakistan core issues. I was told that what can the international community do with Pakistan? Pakistan army is very powerful. They have money and everything, and even if the economy is very bad in Pakistan, the army will not suffer because every year their budget is increasing. It doesn't matter if your economy is bad, they have their businesses and everything. So how can the international community deal with the military is going to be a tricky question. And when, for example, a foreign minister of a European country goes to Pakistan and meet General Bajwa or other generals, it gives a signal to the democratic elected people that you are not important, this guy is important, that's why I'm meeting. So, for example, if a foreign minister from here goes to Pakistan and he doesn't meet Bajwa, it will give a clear signal to the military that we don't want to deal with it. But who can do this? I mean, I don't think every country has their own interest, and let's see what happens, because the Kashmir issue is going to boil up, and there are reports that the Indians and Pakistani are talking. But there are also, we have seen the Indian officials are also talking to the Taliban because they are afraid that these militants will go into Kashmir. And they are going to happen. Just day before yesterday, a police officer was killed in Srinagar, and the ISIS, the Hind, what do they call the Hind province ISIS? They claim responsibility for it. So they are coming for India as well. So this, I spoke to a Taliban member, and he told me that he's not here to do the traffic policing for the people in Kabul, because he's a jihadi, he's going to jihad. He doesn't want to stand in a road and tell cars to go right and left. No, he wants to do his jihad, and that's why he trained and he educated. So That's why the militant groups and their members, they're not going to stick to Afghanistan as a country. They're going to spread, and how the world deals with it, I think it's a good point to think about. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bashir. You've raised some important points, especially about the region, that this will not limit itself to Afghanistan. These are battled, hardened terrorists who are in search of some heaven, and they want to fight, they will need to fight, and if they can't do that in Afghanistan, they're becoming just traffic police officers. They will go into other regions close by. And of course the important issue which is, and that again gives me a very, I think you people have conspired this to give me good bridges to move on to the next speaker, because you're talking about what the Europeans should do, and of course the panel here will react to that, and like you said, that they should probably, when they go to Pakistan, meet the democratic forces and not the military regime, because that legitimizes their hold on the country. And Pamana